Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
This week on the Geek Podcast, Jishnu and Dinkar will be discussing a mystery. And what is this mystery? I'll tell you right now. It's the BBC version of Sherlock. The latest season, we're going to discuss it. It's going to be spoiler-free. Happy listening.
Ahoy and welcome to the Geek Podcast. I am Jishnu.
Welcome! Was I not supposed to come in there? Sorry, take that again.
I knew
Let's
that
do
was
that
coming.
again.
I knew that was coming,
Yes, aye.
but it didn't hurt any less.
I'm sorry.
Well, this week we are Tejasless, so you have me and Dinkar.
Hi.
Please bear with us. So this week we are going to talk about Donald Trump.
Oh, I mean, okay, cool. Is it a 5-hour episode?
Could be. Probably would be if we did.
It's a...
But no, what we will talk about this week, though,
Well,
is
Donald Trump winning is an episode of Black Mirror, correct?
it's the worst episode of Black
The
Mirror.
worst episode of Black
It's
Mirror.
the
And
most
it's
real.
4 years long is the worst part. I thought those other
And it could
episodes
be
were
renewed
long.
for a second season, so it could be
Yeah.
8 years. But what we will talk about this week is Sherlock, because apparently that's a thing that we should be talking about. But what I mainly want to get to, which we will eventually, is the fact that this is the 10 billionth iteration, 4th season of this guy, of this particular incarnation, which makes it, I think, if my math is correct, about 9, 13, maybe 16, 17 hours of the Cumberbund Sherlock that we've seen.
Probably, yeah.
Which is like,
I will
obscene.
not check your work. I'll assume you're correct.
that's a lot of Sherlock.
It's actually, I mean, come on. It's lesser than, say, another, like an American show, which would be 45
True.
minutes and 13 episodes.
Oh, no, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
no Gotham. This I know.
This is true.
It's no Gotham. It's no Flash. But it's still it's
Yeah,
a lot
pot
for
calling
just
kettle
one.
black here. You have watched
just
how
one
many
guy.
seasons of Gotham at this point?
2.
And you feel like there's too much Sherlock in the world.
This is true.
That is how many hours, Jishnu? How many hours of your life have you spent in Gotham?
Well, let me think about this. Gotham was 22
20
episodes.
That is 22 into, well, about
So
44 hours,
episodes.
shall we
44
say.
episodes with like 40
And you
minutes
feel
each.
like 16 hours of Sherlock is too much?
Hey, it's headier than Gotham. I can fall asleep watching Gotham, wake up 10 hours later, and be like, "Oh yeah, that's right, Batman." But with
the dream.
Sherlock, if I doze off for 5 minutes, I'm like, "Oh crack, what cocaine dream is he on now? I guess opium dream is he?" in
Yeah, that's
now?
right. Batman is
Yeah.
like the alternate catchphrase in some universe where he's like, "Hey, yeah, it's Batman."
But let me give y'all good news because we've been getting, I won't say complaints, we've been getting feedback that we might be spoiling things a little bit too frequently and a little bit too often. It's been a few weeks since the first episode of Sherlock came out. The last episode only came out, I think, a week ago from the time we're recording this. So you still have time to catch up. This is a spoiler-free review of the show. We may or may not.
Mild spoilers
Mild
at
spoilers.
best, I would say.
Yeah, so I haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So Dinkar has. I've seen it up until the end of the last season, or I guess including the Abominable Bride. Abominable Bride.
Yes,
Try to
this
say
is
that
true.
5 times fast. I won't. But before we get into the meat of it, we have some responses to respond to.
Yes.
Or I guess emails.
Our
That's
first
the word I was
email
looking for.
comes from my main man, Parth Garg, who I just noticed this. His email is parthgar@gmail.com. So Parth Garg.
Grr.
So Parth, if you're listening, and you are, hopefully, what is the story behind this? Why did you drop off that last G? How much time is it saving
Is
you?
it Path Garg at Gmail?
No, it's Parth Gar. He's
No,
left off.
but it is at Gmail, right? So was he
It's
trying
at
to think?
Gmail.
So Parth
Oh my
Garag mail.
Oh, that's interesting.
See what I did there?
Is that the story? Tell us, Parth.
It is now.
Okay, it is now.
Yeah.
Or we've given you a really cool
So
story for
what the
email.
hell is he saying?
So he says, "Hey guys, this is probably the last email you'll get from me till ... June approximately. This is a shame. Parth,
Why have you forsaken us?
Is this an exam situation? Because please, just, it'll take you 10 minutes to write to us and listen to us while studying. We're not distracting at all.
This is true.
Much like Gotham, you can probably fall asleep while listening to us.
And be like, yes, morons. Okay, cool.
Anyway, heard your last one about Passengers, which was our episode on Passengers and Assassin's Creed, and decided not to watch either of them. Parth, good call.
Not bad. Good choice.
The best part about Assassin's Creed is its personal touch. I feel like I'm actually doing something in the game. Make Fassbender and ask me to pay to watch him is almost as bad as saying, I'm playing Assassin's Creed. Want to watch? So basically, why?
Wait,
he's saying the entire point of the game for him is the fact that he gets to do stuff and be that guy.
Well, that's the
and
argument
when you
for
say,
any video
hey,
game adaptation.
This is true.
Yeah, I mean...
Which is why turning a video game into a movie has, so far, I don't think anyone has really succeeded. I wouldn't call any video game... There was a Vulture list on vulture.com of... I think 14 movies so far have been adapted from video games. So their list was all 14 video game movies ranked from bad to worst. There's not one that's even possible.
Huh. Okay.
By the way, the best of that lot, take a guess. I'll tell you. The original Mortal Kombat.
Wow.
Because that's the best. I think I agree.
I mean, it was hokey, and I mean, we saw it at a certain age where we were just like, we would eat up anything they threw at us, I think. I haven't seen that movie in like 20 years.
I feel like, let's do this. Let's
maybe
watch that movie
I should rewatch
again.
that movie. But wait, I have a proposition.
Yes.
Going off this video game thing, I think we should do an episode soon where we present to each other our best proposals for video games that we think would make good movies.
I like this.
And maybe we could throw it out to our listeners and they can nominate some things as well. Parth, I'm looking at you through my mind's eye, through my astral projection.
Are you giving Parth homework?
I'm giving him more homework. When you come back in June, you gotta have your stuff together.
Holiday homework, yes.
But no, yeah, we should do that. I have a couple of suggestions. Just, I mean, off the top of my head, I think like one big issue is that with an Assassin's Creed or a Warcraft or whatnot, those games are great. Yes, the story is really cool, but the selling point of those games are the action and the way of playing them and the nuts and bolts, the engine, the actual gameplay, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think something like, say, Mass Effect, which is an ongoing series that is rich as all hell with storyline, not to say that those other games aren't, but a game like Mass Effect, which is, choice and option-based and consequence story mode kind of thing, or even like the Telltale series, those would be really good
Telltale series, I mean, I think the Telltale series or, say, the older LucasArts games, the point-and-clicky types, point-and-click games in general, because they depend so much on the story, because you don't have the crutch of like, whoa, this gameplay is really cool, or these graphics are amazing.
But then, I mean, a point-and-click game is like a strategy game, so that's why, like, why didn't Warcraft work?
Okay, yeah.
But it did work significantly better than
I'm thinking
most,
point-and-click adventure games in the style of like LucasArts, like a Monkey Island. I mean, if you put together all the cutscenes from Monkey Island, it's just a hilarious pirate adventure. It was the Pirates of the Caribbean before the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
I wouldn't mind seeing Diablo as well.
Sure.
That would be neat.
Half-Life and Half-Life 2 as one movie.
Ooh. Full Life.
Full Life. And the Half-Life 3 that is never coming out.
Just call it Life, and it'll be like a mix between Half-Life and the Game of Life board game.
Perfect. Because at the end it turns out they were all pieces on a board.
Moving on.
Okay, fine. I'll give my pitch some work. Anyway,
moving on.
Back to Parth Gar at gmail.com. Passengers falls into the whole shit happens in space category. As you guys had discussed. Side note, pretty much anything is shit happening in space. Because technically, space is everything.
I mean, technically, every movie has to have shit happen in it.
Yeah.
For it to be worth my time.
Every movie takes place in space because Earth is in space.
I see.
So,
just move on.
As you guys had discussed earlier, billions are being spent to ensure that people don't die out in space. While this makes for a sellable plotline, it's becoming very cliched and overused. Just look at the number of space-related movies in the past few months. While the graphics were cool, I honestly would have preferred a good plot too. We don't watch movies just for the graphics, people. Geek on, Parth.
Well then.
I am
well said.
Completely agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Tejas and I went on a rant about that for quite a while because we had another. I hope I'm not messing up her name. Bhavika wrote in. She's a visual effects artist as well, and she wrote, and I think we responded in that episode about her comments that people don't bring up VFX enough. And I said this in response to her. I myself, as a visual effects artist, or trying to be one, I too agree that beautiful visuals and a beautiful cinematographer does not a great movie make.
Exactly.
You need a compelling story, and you could tell it through the smallest lens or through the most sophisticated CGI software there is. But if the character and the story doesn't compel me to keep watching, then I couldn't care less. I can look at a beautiful painting, and that's the beautiful visual. I don't need a 90-minute or a 3-hour movie or a 44-episode TV run.
That's basically just a showreel for Industrial Light and Magic.
Pretty much.
It's like, this is what we can do.
Oy.
I feel like we've become less forgiving of that over the years.
Yeah, because it's become standard. It's
exactly.
ubiquitous, man. Like, that's where the indry's at. You can't, like, you can't sell
which
me
is
on...
great.
Like, yeah, I mean, you can't sell me on, like, hey, this song is amazing. Why? Because there are notes in it. Yeah, there better be some notes.
Every song has notes nowadays.
There better be some notes.
What else you got?
Okay, so I got a tweet from Ravi Ochani.
Hi, Ravi.
Hello. He says he just heard the 2016 wrap-up. He loved The Accountant. So
oh my
that
God,
will make Tejas
the
happy.
second person...
Have you seen it yet? I haven't seen it.
No, but my accounting skills tell me that I now know 2 people who like The Accountant.
I also see what you did there again. But I saw the brother angle from a mile away. Didn't you? I have no idea what that means. This is a question for Tejas, so...
Apparently there's a brother angle.
We will defer this to later. But Batfleck with gun was just bad. It's PTSD from BVS. So, not a fan, I'm guessing? Wait, no, he said he loved Accountant, but he was not a...
But he didn't like... He saw the brother angle come... He loved it, but he saw the brother angle coming, and he wasn't keen on Batfleck with gun.
Cool. We would have a lot more intelligent things to say about this had we actually seen the movie. So maybe
my favorite part of The Accountant, where, like, towards the end, Batfleck puts down the gun and goes like, well... I guess we really did do some accounting here.
You can count on me to do it again.
Yeah, I loved it.
You can count on me, Ant-Man. Crossover. That will never happen.
Oh, no.
Oh, but speaking of random crossover, total non sequitur, the new Logan trailer came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it?
I did, yes.
It was beautiful. I really enjoyed it. But the thing that people are talking most about is just like a not even 3-second long little shot of... Wolverine holding up an X-Men comic.
A comics,
right?
Yes. He holds up an uncanny X-Men.
Right, and there's a whole lot of hullabaloo on the interwebs about that. Because it's a Fox property holding up a Marvel thingy.
So there's a whole story behind that. Are you aware?
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but they got Joe Quesada to write a 4-page...
Hugh J himself.
Yeah,
he
Hugh J went up
to Joe Quesada and he said, like, can we do this? And Joe Quesada wrote a 4-page story.
Yeah, which is cool.
Really
which
cool.
makes me very excited to see... I mean, it's the tiniest thing, which is, in the long run, I think just a small step in the right direction towards everybody making friends. Fox and Marvel already, they got Spidey, so that's a big win.
Sony and Marvel have Spidey.
So
and
that's
now Fox
already
and
a big
Marvel
win.
are also mending bridges.
So now that they're willing to do this and say, all right, we'll swallow our pride and hand over this thing. It's a tiny little gesture, but I think it means a lot to all the players involved. And I think they get how important that is to the fans. And I think it was very intentionally shown in the trailer to sort of let people set the stage and let people know this movie will be a little bit different in all the right ways because we're willing to sort of step out of our comfort zone and work together and so it's nice. I'm really excited to see. Is it an R-rated movie?
Logan, yes.
It is, right? So we haven't yet seen the R. We've seen the...
We haven't seen the R.
We've seen the Pug 13 so far.
Yes,
actually, not
the
even
trailers.
Pug 13. Actually, there was quite a bit of gore in that one.
Yeah, but I think it was... I mean, it wasn't the full R-rated trailer anyway. But it is R-rated and, interesting perspective there. That moment where Logan goes half of these aren't true is... very reminiscent of the moment in the Force Awakens trailer that we first saw, where Harrison Ford, talks about the legends of 30 years ago.
Right.
But he says it's all true. So I suppose it's slightly different there. This was my way of segueing into the fact that Episode 8's title has been revealed. And it is The Last Jedi.
You know what I'm most excited about, more so than the name itself and all the beautiful speculation that's going on, is the fact that the title is in red. Is in red lightsaber red.
Yeah.
That makes me very excited. Because
what does it mean?
It should be, it's
Has
obviously going to be
before?
darker.
No.
What?
No title has been in red up to this point.
Nope.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if they're keeping with the tradition, which I would bet my last buck that they would, that this would be in that Empire darker space.
Yeah,
I'm hoping it
has to
gets
be
even darker, which will be amazing because I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as speculation is concerned, just keep it quick. Just place your bet.
Oh,
Last Jedi.
I don't know. The Last Jedi? Definitely darker. I don't want to say this, but Luke probably dies.
Yeah, and
that
refers to him being Last Jedi, you think?
I think, and a lot of people are saying this, Jedi in the title is plural. So the Last Jedi would be Luke and Rey.
Yeah.
Or all of them, maybe.
I was going to say, yeah, exactly. I think that Yes. What do you say?
multiple
Two.
of the Jedi.
Yes, it doesn't mean one, it means two.
So, an
Anyway.
interesting bit of speculation that I came across on Reddit
Yeah.
is when they do alternate titles for like the European market, especially if I remember correctly, like Germany,
Yeah.
they will have to translate it in a way that will give away whether it's plural or not.
Oh.
Like, because the
Huh.
in
This
those
is
languages would have to be changed to
Instead of
reflect
el,
whether...
de los.
Yes, exactly.
That'd be hilarious.
So if a foreign language poster comes out that says like Los Jedi, we know what's gonna happen.
For some reason, just the Los Lonely Boys came into my head. Do you remember those guys?
Yes.
Nobody does. Nobody remembers those guys. Don't lie. All right, let's take a break. And when we get back, we will talk funny British accents and bowler hats and mystery stories, also known as Sherlock.
It was rated Goregaon's most intelligent podcast. It was the best new podcast of the day when it was launched. And now, the irreverent brand of attempted humor and botched education is coming your way. You have many burning questions.
So what is the Brexit? What do mathematicians do, man? I mean...
Introducing Simplified, a weekly podcast that deconstructs issues around you, such as, what on earth is Bitcoin?
So Bitcoin is just another currency like the rupee or dollar. The difference here is it's a virtual currency.
Do resolutions in cameras really matter?
They think that just because a number is higher, what they're getting is actually more.
And encryption.
So encryption, okay, is a process of encoding messages in such a fashion that only the intended recipient sees it in its intended format.
Hosted by Narendra Shanoy, a very wise man who can't stop making B.G. Woodhouse references. And Deepak Gopalakrishnan, who calls himself Chuck, a madman who can't stop making poor jokes.
Naren, what do you call a forest where you find all the latest news?
I don't have a good feeling about
A topical rainforest.
Follow Chuck and Naren as they scour Google and read Wikipedia for you and condense it into language you can understand. Simplified, helping you appear smarter to an audience that knows no different.
Hello, it's us again. You know who we are, so we'll just get into it.
Hi.
Sherlock, it's a thing
Yes.
that is inescapable. It's been around for decades.
It's been
When
around
was
for 6 years. 2010. The
No,
first
I
one.
mean like the dude.
Oh, the dude?
In general.
For centuries. Literally centuries.
right?
Yes.
And he's been on screen for decades.
Yes.
Do you know which was the first?
Almost right from the start. I forget, but there were at least there were a bunch of episodic versions of him. All I think most of them produced by the BBC back in the day. And the iconic one, the one that created the image of
Yeah.
Sherlock with the deerstalker hat and the
Right.
pipe and whatnot,
Yeah.
was the one by where he was played by Basil Rathbone.
Okay.
Yeah.
When was that?
That was in the early 1940s, 50s maybe.
Jeez.
I'm guessing it's
Okay.
super old. Is
Yeah.
what
Alright.
what I'm saying.
All right. So,
And it pretty much created the modern image of Sherlock because none of that existed otherwise. He didn't
right,
wear
yeah,
a
yeah,
deerstalker
he
hat in the books.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was no elementary, my dear Watson.
So, fun little tidbit is that several years ago, I was living in England for like 2 years, and I lived in the small little shipping town of Portsmouth on the south coast. And it's famous for two reasons. One is that it's Charles Dickens' hometown, so there's a Charles Dickens museum.
Ah.
But there's also, that's where Arthur Conan Doyle was known to sit and write his Sherlock Holmes novels.
Really?
Yeah.
Is
And
that
so-
where he used to practice?
I think he taught. He taught or was a student at the university. I think he was a professor. I could be wrong. But
he was a doctor.
he
No,
was.
or he was assisting a doctor somewhere. Anyway,
I
go on.
really couldn't tell you, but I know that he was in Portsmouth for a long period of time, and he wrote a lot of his work there. And so, because of that, I'd never really taken much time out and paid much attention to Sherlock. And that is around when the BBC version with Cumberbatch started up.
Oh,
And
when
so-
you were in Portsmouth.
yeah, right around that time is when it was either being made or it had just come out. I forget, but like I was aware of it. That like, hey, there's a big new, different kind of Sherlock that's coming out, and obviously it made big waves, as we all know it did. So it came back into my consciousness, and I was like, oh right, I'm in the city where the guy did this stuff. So I went to the library and I actually sat and I read the complete works of Sherlock in like 6 months.
Yeah.
Because there are not that many.
No, there aren't.
And that's what's really, really impressive about this character. He's not really the most how do I put it? He just doesn't have too much material out there, right? But there's
yes.
enough.
There are
in
4
his
novels and about 50 odd short stories.
Yeah, and those short stories are pretty damn short.
They're super
there's
short,
really
yeah.
not too much in it, right? But that's more than enough for people to do at least 50, 60 odd years of reincarnation after reincarnation, and it never gets fatiguing because the character stays the same and you just approach his story from a different perspective. In that, I think what's really cool about... So let's just jump right into this current iteration with Benedict.
Yes.
What's really cool is that when we first are introduced to him in episode 1 of the very first season, we're coming in from Watson's perspective, right? We start off with him as a war vet with PTSD and all this whatnot.
Yeah.
And so when he meets Sherlock as his out-of-the-box, quirky, crazy nut job, who's clearly very gifted and a genius... I feel like, if not the entire first season, then the majority of the first season, we're seeing it very much through Watson's perspective of, like, being fatigued by having to deal with this guy, but then also having the purpose of, like, giving giving Watson's own life some direction by sort of playing parent to him, because he's also lost his own sense of self and his own, family, and he doesn't really have much going for him. And so that's, I just think, so telling of a really, really well-constructed character who is complex as all hell. And their relationship dynamic, I've heard people often complain about, how it's a little one-sided and a little bit unrealistic, because why on earth would somebody why would Watson deal with this nonsense? Yeah. But then at least what I think works the best about this show, the Cumberbatch version, is that I think it's probably one of the ones where it's pushed to its limits the most in terms of the friction between them and how batshit insane Sherlock is. But then I think those few moments in between when Watson really shines, it really hits home. And like I feel like when I saw, like, for example, the Robert Downey Jr. and the Jude Law ones, there was never any point where, like, I felt the kinship too much. It was far more buddy cop. In a very entertaining way.
It was buddy cop more than
it was very buddy cop and
relationship.
entertaining. But yeah, this one actually, like, it hits home. You're rooting for them to all get along because it's like one big family that
this is true.
Is just dysfunctional.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And so I think that's what's kept me going with it for so long. Now, that being said, like I said, I've seen everything up until The Abominable Bride.
That's season 3.
Season 3 and then the Christmas special. But yeah, I'll be honest, when this one came out, I was excited. I was like, oh, sweet, Jan 1st, it's out. And I just had a whole lot of other stuff going on. And I'm in the middle of watching Westworld because we're going to be covering it very soon. I'm just so damn tired. Because it's really compelling. I know that the minute I start watching it, I'm going to be into it, and I'll probably binge the 3 in one shot.
But it's hard because they're all 90 minutes.
I know, yeah,
they're mini movies. So watching them at a stretch is pushing it.
I did the first season, I remember, in one afternoon, and I did the second season.
I feel like I did as well.
Yeah, especially because it was brand new. I didn't know what I was getting into.
Zippy.
It was just
and
like,
great. Those first couple of episodes were perfect.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm going to
that's kind of the...
Yes. You tell me.
Well, I feel like everyone was kind of coming to Sherlock with that same, like, oh, okay, I guess, I mean, like, we love Sherlock and we're excited that this is here, but there is some of that magic has been lost for a bunch of reasons. First off, it's been 6 years since Sherlock first turned up. 2010 was the first season, and we get precious little of it. Like, every couple of years, 3 episodes is not enough to make you, I mean, like, you really care about the characters.
Yeah.
But especially after season 2, which was when Sherlock was presumably dead.
Yeah.
And we knew he'd come back, and we didn't know how.
Yeah.
He came back for season 3, and that season was inconsistent, is the best.
How did season 3 end before The Abominable Bride? I can't remember. It ends with,
you remember this whole...
Did you miss me? Did you miss me? The whole Moriarty comes back. Because season 3, he's not there, right? The Reichenbach fall happens, and then Moriarty is off the face of the earth.
This is true.
And then all of a sudden, boom, he comes back.
This dude called Magnuson turns up, if you remember.
And he's the villain in the finale of 3.
And he is murdered by Sherlock.
And then
in out of the coldest blue, of bloods.
And then out of the blue, Sherlock's on a plane trying to go on vacation or something. Or he's trying to leave and go somewhere or the other. And then just like the whole world gets, did you miss me? and then the Abominable Bride happens, which tells us that it's a big fever dream, essentially.
Well,
the whole episode of Abominable Bride is a fever dream.
It's a fever dream, yes.
So does the new season pick up immediately right after that?
So Abominable Bride is sort of, I mean, it's not in the same linear continuity really, because, I mean, since it happens on that one afternoon and it doesn't have like...
It's all on the plane, right? Because I remember correct me if I'm wrong, season 3 ends with him getting on the plane and everybody's waving goodbye. And then as he's about to take off, the whole world gets intercepted by Moriarty's message. And then they, like, stop the plane.
Was it the whole world?
Oh, at least all of England.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people in bars, like, their TV screens
all of that is ignored. We pick up, I think, a few months after that.
All right.
They address the consequences of Holmes shooting Magnuson, which I am not ashamed of telling you. They just dismiss it in about half a scene where they go like, well, we've rewritten history, so they doctor some footage so it looks like he did it in self-defense or something like that, and they basically like just ignore it.
All right.
And that brings me to this season of Sherlock is iffy.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of issues. So there's great moments, I shall not deny, but there's also a bunch of issues because basically I feel like there's a lot of pressure for Moffat and Gatiss to live up to now, where it's become this thing of like Sherlock comes back only once every couple of years. It comes back only for like 2 or 3 episodes. So there's a lot of pressure to deliver, and they have this feeling that they have to outsmart their fans. So if you remember, one of the things that kind of like sort of started turning me against the show, and I'm not against the show right now, but one of the things that bothered me when season 3 came around is that literally everyone spent those like year and a half, 2 years after season 2, it felt like a couple of years, going like, how is Sherlock going to come back? There were entire sub forums and sites dedicated just like this could have happened and that could have happened. And when it came back, they dealt with it in a way that was clever, but also like so smug that I felt like, so basically, if you remember, they never ever tell you how he actually did it. Instead, they have a bunch of characters in the show imagine stuff.
Scenarios.
So it begins with something ridiculous like Sherlock and Moriarty almost making out, going like, ha ha ha, we fooled Watson, and then you cut out and find out that it's a bunch of fans sitting around and discussing exactly.
Wait, but no, don't they? I thought they do like break it down blow by blow. Like he was tied to a rope, and then he had the dummy. Oh, was that also
That was also a
fan theory.
A fan theory, yes. But basically,
the body double and all that wasn't the real thing?
No.
So what was the real thing?
I don't think they ever declared a real thing. At least that's how I remember it.
I wish I should go back and fact check.
Which is fine. I mean, like saying that, hey, it wasn't really about how Sherlock got out of it. It's the fact that he did. Is a understandable trick where, I mean, like when you say like, if you're a magician and you go like, stop trying to figure out the trick. It's about the magic.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Decent idea. I felt like the way they did it, the tone of it was kind of like, ha, look at you stupid fans trying to figure out us geniuses.
Yeah.
It just had that tone.
I see that.
So the personality of Sherlock started becoming the personality of the show. And everyone puts up with Sherlock. But
which on paper is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yes. Up to a point, like,
but I get your point. He's not a fun character, so like, if the show has the vibe of the character, it's not a good thing. But that is a very impressive feat to pull off.
Yeah.
You have to give credit to a director being able to embody that persona so much so that the whole show revolves around it. That's pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of stuff to deal with because of the fact that Sherlock is so talked about as well, I suppose. So they have to handle the storyline itself, the mystery, which they know that, the creators, Gatiss and Moffat, as soon as they put out any sort of overarching mystery or a mystery within the show itself, they know that everyone's trying to figure it out.
Right.
So they have to make sure that the mystery is great.
Yeah.
They have to make sure that the relationship between the characters is great. And they have to, like, basically try and stay a step ahead of any criticism that they get, especially because they pay a lot of attention to the criticism, which is clear in like how they handle season 3.
Yeah.
So I feel like they try too hard to do all of these things in season 4, and that is what caused the issues. But let me tell you what the season's like.
Okay.
It begins with what seems like a case of the week sort of situation where Sherlock and Watson are called in to a British politician's home because his kid is dead in a car that blows up. So Sherlock solves that mystery immediately, but he's distracted by the fact that this bust of Margaret Thatcher was on the floor, shattered.
Okay.
Or he pictured it in his mind palace as, oh, there was a bus there. It was shattered. So the entire cold open
that
is this
mind
kid
palace.
dying. The kid gets into
Sure.
kid gets into a car. He has this call with his dad.
Yeah.
They spend like a good 5 minutes on that. Then you find out that the kid died because the car he was sitting in exploded.
Mm-hmm.
Sherlock turns up and he solves the mystery by going like, okay, basically it's a whole thing. And I'll tell you, just to give you an idea of how out there the season is. The kid wanted to surprise his dad, so he came up with a seat costume, like a car seat costume, and disguised himself to look like a car seat and sat in his car. At that point, he got stuck, choked, and died.
On Velcro, basically.
On Velcro. No one noticed because he looked like a
Does he
car
look
seat.
like a car?
2 weeks later, another car came
Yeah.
and crashed into this car, and for some reason they both exploded on contact,
As cars do, I guess.
as cars do, apparently.
Okay.
This is set up in like the first 8 minutes or so. Sherlock comes in and he
Yeah.
tells you all of this in the
Yeah.
first 45 seconds. He's like, okay, this happened, then this happened, then 2 weeks later the car hit, and now that's why you've discovered the guy. He figures all this out because there's two kinds of vinyl or Velcro. So basically, what seems like an intriguing mystery at the start, where you're like, okay, why is this kid acting like an idiot? is solved in 30 seconds. Then it goes to, oh, incidentally, there was this bust of Margaret Thatcher here, which is broken.
That is usually his
Correct.
storytelling technique, isn't it?
Yeah, like something is set up and then
Yeah.
it turns out to be a red herring.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you go to something else. In this case, every 10 minutes that happens.
Oh, man.
The 6 Thatchers turn out to be unimportant. Apparently, there was like one dude smashing them because there was something
Okay.
in there.
Now, okay.
This is from the Sherlock
Enough.
Holmes stories, which...
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. So I don't know how many of them you've read, but did you see? Do you
All
know
of
if
them,
They were,
multiple
you read all of
times.
them. Okay,
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
Okay, so are they still fishing a lot from the pool?
Not even close.
So they're going full Rambo.
They're
They're doing their own
essentially,
thing.
yes, the 6 Thatchers only comes about. There was no reason for them to even be 6. It only exists so that they can go like, hey, we're winking at the actual stories. Do you
Right.
see?
Yeah.
Because again, that storyline is dismissed in the first 10 minutes and another thing comes out. And basically that the tone of it is all as out there as that first fake
Sure.
case that I described to you.
Okay.
Things happen and you're like, come on, I wouldn't buy this in like the most out there masala action movie that there is. So why is Sherlock a show that is known for being intelligent?
Right.
Like, why
Well,
are you
so-
putting me through the Sherlock?
So then, what's the status of the whole relationship dynamic? Like I said, that's my biggest.
It's great. So
I'm the big
that
fan
is
of that.
still the selling point to me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The problem is it gets sidelined very quickly. It comes back
Mm-hmm.
in brief moments. Like one of the best moments of the series is when Sherlock and Mycroft are having this argument over a massive revelation, like massive,
Mm-hmm.
and about themselves.
Sure.
And Sherlock and Mycroft
Mm-hmm.
are about to discuss it, and Mycroft says, well, like, Watson, can you leave? And Sherlock says, Watson stays, John stays. And Mycroft says, but this is family. And Sherlock goes, well, that's why John stays. And I was like, yes, that's
Nice.
amazing.
Oh, that is
Great
big.
moment.
That is big.
Yeah.
Just even-
like, just describing that
Just on
moment,
paper,
you can
like-
feel the power of it.
Right, yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
only time I
he
cared.
he would not have said that a season ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So it feels like things,
That's nice.
like relationships have grown.
That's really cool.
But also, there are things that happen between these relationships that are... Watson has a kid, as you know.
Mhm.
And, okay, I'm trying not to spoil it. But the kid is pretty much ignored.
That's fine. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So I think we're venturing into that territory now. So
Yes.
let's just dive out a
So
second.
this was... I was talking about episode 1 so far. What happens is, episode 2, stakes raised even more. Episode
great.
3, stakes raised even more.
So, again, let's not get into any specifics. But
Yes.
are you satisfied
No.
at the end of 3? Okay, were you satisfied at the end of 1, 2, and 3?
I was satisfied at the end of 1, at the end of 2. Satisfied isn't like, I thought 1 and 2 were amazing.
Right.
The end of 2 I thought was a peak for
Yeah.
this show.
Yeah.
3, I was like, Abominable Bride, interesting in parts,
Right.
but also like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
So, you know how Abominable Bride, it is a
It's a
mouthful.
horrible
It's
word. It's a really terrible word. Yeah.
What is the other thing you call the Abominable Snowman?
Yeah.
No, what,
Oh, the Yeti?
The Yeti, yes.
Yeah.
The Yeti Bride, shall we
Sure.
say. So the problem
Bigfoot.
with the Yeti Bride, with the
Sasquatch.
Yeti Bigfoot.
The Sasquatch
Yes. The problem with that episode was, it was really interesting when it was a whole like back in the day kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I initially thought like,
was
okay,
a
this
gi-
is just like
It was a gimmick.
Yeah.
That was the only
It
selling
turned out
point.
to be
It
a
was just
gimmick.
like
And-
it was like we've seen these guys before. Let's just see them now back in time. Yay! But it was cool. I mean, because it
But then
continued
they
the story.
like tied
I
it
guess.
into like the current story and then went
Yeah.
like, oh wait, it's all in his head, but
know.
he's doing it so he can figure out this case.
You know, I mean, I hate those kind of endings so much because I very vividly remember when I was about 10 or 11 years old in the 6th grade, I was writing an essay in English class. And my mom is an English teacher, and I was doing really well in that particular lesson. And I wrote an essay where I just dribbled for like however many pages that essay was long, and then I didn't know how to end it, and I was just like, and it was all a dream. And I got like the equivalent of an F. Because the teacher and my mom, who was on her side, I was like, what the hell is this? That's not a badly written essay. She's like, you can't end a story like that because
Exactly.
it's a cop-out. So at the age of 10, it's been like ingrained in me that like you can't just like say whatever the hell you want and then just like, well, screw you, because I don't know how to end this. I'm just going to say it's a
Exactly.
dream.
And
it's a
yet
really,
it's such an overused trope
It
in
is.
fiction. I mean, it's a whole
it
thing.
is. It is. It's mild, not mildly. It's more than a little plausible because of the whole opioid stuff that's going on in his life. Fine, fair, I get it. But yeah,
Excuses,
it's not
though.
satisfying. Exactly. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not satisfying. It doesn't. Yeah, give me a reason to continue watching. Which is why I haven't seen this new season, because when season 3 ended, I was really into it. I was like, yes, let's see how Moriarty gets back, because it's, their relationship, the Sherlock-Moriarty relationship, is Batman-Joker. You don't want them to finish this fight.
Yeah.
You want this fight to go on for infinity. It's like it's a biblical level of this, this animosity that they have. And the Abominable Bride explanation of it, or pseudo-explanation of it, was just so just left
It
out.
doesn't land anywhere, and
And so that's
honestly,
why
neither does this season.
And now to hear you say that, we've jumped ahead in time, I was like, well, what? No, I wanted to see how you actually are going to sit and explain to me how he invaded, millions of
So,
TV screens and
yeah.
phones and shows up out of the blue. If that's
Never
not explained,
So
I'm already
there was a
tired.
great article in The Guardian,
yeah.
an analysis of Sherlock that said, here's the problem, Sherlock is becoming James Bond, where it's about the spectacle, about the ridiculousness of the villain, of the massiveness of every plan,
Yeah.
and that's not what Sherlock's supposed to be.
This is true.
And then Mark Gatiss or Stephen Moffat, one of them,
Yeah.
responded in verse. He wrote a poem responding to the guy. Because that's what Arthur Conan Doyle did once, way back in the day,
Okay.
when someone criticized an episode of Sherlock.
An episode of...
So this tells you a lot. First of all, it tells you that they pay a lot of attention to the critics.
Yeah.
Secondly, it tells you that in his mind, he's as great as Arthur Conan Doyle.
I guess
It's
so.
annoying.
Yeah.
Though they're great.
Oh, they're amazing.
They're at this point, they're legendary. Doctor
Yeah.
Who and this is
I'd say that
they're in
about
nerd
as,
heaven.
I'd say they're about as great as Conan Doyle, in my opinion, because I don't know.
I don't know
too
Crossing
much about,
a line there.
I don't know too much about Conan Doyle, so I don't have enough.
He
to back him
invented
up.
the Sherlock.
Apart from that,
The Lost World,
oh, fair enough.
not the movie.
Yeah.
The book that was quite different, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So I
But
haven't read
still,
the book, so I don't know. I don't have enough to go on defending Conan Doyle. I can defend Gaddis and Moffat.
This
So
is
I
true.
can't
So can
really
I.
speak to that.
I feel like I'm a little annoyed by them at this
Yeah,
point.
fair enough. I'll get
So just to explain what the Moriarty angle is in this season is, it's teased throughout, it's built up, but a whole new threat also comes in.
Okay.
Are they connected? Are they not? I don't know. But yeah, basically Moriarty is not the only dude here.
Well, okay. So think of it this way. Now that it's been 4 seasons, 4.5, including Christmas specials.
And this one, possibly the last, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Is
okay.
what they've said, but
Alright.
also no one said we're not doing it. They've
Yes,
just said it's kind of hard to
then
do
I
it.
don't buy it. Then there's no chance I buy it, especially when this much money is on the line. So, speaking of money, it's the same. People have talked about this being very similar to House, or rather House being very similar to the Sherlock style of storytelling
Yes.
and the same character stuff, right? If you look at the success of House, House was like one of the biggest shows when it was going well in 3-4 seasons, and it was doing the same thing as Sherlock, and that whenever the new season would come out, obviously binge watching was not a thing at the time, so the landscape was different. But at the time, House was huge, and House
Yes.
had like a 9 or a 10
9 seasons, I believe.
Yeah, a ton of seasons, and that too was like if not 20 episodes, somewhere around there in that kind of a arc, and it persevered through that many. And do you see the whole series?
Yes.
Did you finish it?
No, not
Okay.
really. I
So,
mean,
do you
I've
mind-
always watched it.
Do you mind if I give you a quick spoiler for the ending?
I think I know the ending. What
Okay.
happens?
All right. Spoiler warning for House. How House ends.
He was in a house all along.
He runs his car into his house.
Oh, okay.
and it like blows up and stuff.
And he dies.
I honestly can't remember that part, but
Of
that's
lupus.
the big thing. That's the big thing. Like he loses his mind and nonsense happens as he does all the time. But this
He
one
was
goes,
he was
it goes
in
one step
an
too
institution
far.
for a season or so.
Yes, exactly. He was in rehab and all that stuff. It was really cool. It was really nice all the way until the end. But basically, what I'm getting at is that the way House started, much like with traditional Sherlock
They
storytelling.
start as these case of
It's
the week
exactly case of the
procedural
week,
type things.
Case of the week, insular, slowly seeping in so that you get to know a little bit more of his character and the people around him and his Watson and whatnot and things like that. And that was very, very compelling. And then as the show gets bigger, the show makes more money, the expectations are higher.
The expectations
the
are
scale
higher,
goes up, and
the-
then next thing you know, there are freaking explosions and car chases. And I was like, this guy's a doctor who just has a limp. And he plays amazing
Imagine
guitar.
going from there
Like that's
to
his, yeah. So like, where did this come from? And that's kind of why the show kind of like had its peak somewhere in the middle, and then money got involved, and people were like, we just need to make it bigger because we don't trust you to write well enough. We trusted you well enough to start the show, and then at some point the studio takes the reins when they see that you're a
I
cash
don't even
cow.
think it's
you know?
just the studio. It's an issue because both the creators, the show itself feels like, okay, we need to do more. We can't do the same thing every week because
Right.
after a point, I mean, you could watch an episode from season 3 of House, an episode from season 1 of House,
Yeah.
like flip the order.
Right.
You wouldn't be able to tell because
Right.
it's like,
Yes.
okay, this week this patient came in,
Yeah.
this week this
Yeah.
patient came in. Same thing happened with like Grey's Anatomy. Same thing happens with any long-running procedural type show, a
Sure.
case of the week type show,
Sure.
where at some point you're like, okay, we've got to have like longer arcs. We've got to have like an overarching narrative. We've got to raise the stakes. So suddenly, House is like leaping out of buildings and
Yeah.
crashing into.
I know.
And that's the same issue
But-
with Sherlock.
But so I mean, I don't know if
Otherwise,
so why
you
do say-
become a
yeah.
CSI, where it's
Which
like
is?
basically still the same thing. It's
Yeah.
been like 45 years, but they're still like,
But they're
"All
still
right,
going.
We have yeah.
They have fans,
But-
but the thing
but-
is, they can't
but they're
compare.
not
Their
cool.
numbers won't compare with Sherlock or
Oh.
House at all.
CSI has a huge viewership among old people, apparently, and so many spin-offs, but they're not cool.
Exactly.
Sherlock is cool.
and they want to maintain exactly, and the studio wants to maintain the coolness. Right now, the thing is
Yeah.
that you could take. I think comparable is Doctor Who, which is Legacy, right? Doctor Who's Legacy, and while I haven't seen the new seasons, actually, I haven't seen anything beyond season 4, because again, I just
Season
got
4
tired.
of the revival.
Of the revival, yeah,
Yes.
since Eccleston.
Right.
Now, yeah, it's high time we do Doctor Who episode. We need to get an expert in. If somebody's listening, and you know stuff about Doctor Who, we want to talk to you. That rhymed,
are
so
you?
you better do it. But anyway, what I'm getting at is Doctor Who has like n number of seasons going for it in this revival alone,
She's
plus
right.
all the previous ones before it, predating into friggin' black and white, right?
Yeah.
So it's at this point now where obviously, people are, because of social media and the overload of information that we have, people scrutinize every single reboot of the character, every single new companion that's brought in, every single new villain that's thing in. The whole thing gets dissected because there are just that many rabid fans. But as far as I'm aware, it's still staying pretty much true to its roots in that it's gone on for so long that I think it's a little almost untouchable in terms of like you can't mess with this because people love it for what it is. But this Sherlock, I fear, correct me if I'm wrong, I fear that this Sherlock now has escalated to that point where it's at the peak, or rather, season 3 was the peak.
Yeah.
It's
Season
gone to this
2
point,
was
the
the
end
peak.
of season 2,
Yeah.
leading into season 3 being the peak, and now season 4, from what I hear and from the review that you've put up online and everything, all the other reviews I've seen, are that it's on that slow decline, and it's just because it's not being what it used to be, simply because you just have to give us
They're trying to
something
do
more
too
sexy
much.
to
Exactly.
something that I can write about, something that I can go whoa and holy crap, and
like-
rather than like the slow burn,
Oh,
which
wait.
is season 1 and 2
Yeah.
was a slow burn. There was nothing particularly exciting in the action sequences in that regard. Season 3 had a lot more spectacle and scale,
Yeah.
like you said, and I'm guessing this season has even more so.
Yes.
Yeah, so-
most definitely.
And that's not what makes Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, so a lot of the elements, even from season 3, where it was clear that they were trying to do too much, like Mary coming in and getting married to John.
Yeah.
And then it turns out she's got this whole past. Unnecessary. and like again a side effect of trying to do too much. Like, hey, we need new characters to build this world. Oh, okay, she's gonna marry John. Wait a second,
But
she's a like deadly
Right. But see,
sniper
I'll
types.
defend that because I think that
It was interesting.
It gives you more to play with in terms of the Sherlock and Watson dynamic, because then there's
True.
the thing that Sherlock is like, John, are you leaving me? You found yourself a new Sherlock, a new best friend, who's
Yeah.
now his wife, right? So
Who's also a deadly
assassin.
assassin.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So I mean, I'm not saying it was handled
She's
perfectly.
an abominable assassin.
I'm not saying it was handled perfectly, but I'm saying that, that I will forgive far more than if I see Sherlock
agree
Holmes like
with the
jumping out of a
intention-
helicopter and,
yes,
crap
yeah.
like that.
I
Does
agree
he
with
jump out
the
of a
intentions
helicopter?
there. No.
You sure?
Someone does.
There is a helicopter involved?
I will say this. There's a great sequence that involves a helicopter, a top secret prison, and Queen's I Want to Break Free.
Yes!
It's amazing.
I'm on board.
It's like you're watching that moment and
But
you're
see-
like,
but see,
so
this
many
is-
gifs to be.
But see, this is the reaction they want.
Yeah.
This ironic of like, yes, because that just sounds epic.
It is epic.
It might not have anything to do with anything, but on paper, can you insert these sequences into this show that I love? It has nothing to do with anything. But yes, people will talk about that scene because it's hilarious to say that Sherlock Holmes and I Want to Break Free.
You don't even know
Right?
who's in the scene.
I don't care. I know.
Exactly.
I know. I'm already going to love the scene. I think
You
that's
will
what a
even
studio.
more when you know who's in it.
That's what a studio wants to hear.
Exactly.
Right? Because they don't have to read a script in order to know that this scene is going to sell.
But this isn't a studio. It's the BBC, and the BBC like gives free rein to these two guys to do whatever they want.
Free reigns. I think you have to say that with a grain of salt because.
Ooh, no, the BBC. Like, it's the
Not-
BBC. They
yeah.
don't do anything.
Yeah,
They're
but
like,
still, there's
"You have
millions
all
of
the
pounds
money."
riding on this show. Like there are a lot of investors. So I think BBC or not, it's not like it's a small indie movie that was just like one dude who's like, yeah, I'll do whatever I want. It's a major company. It's not Disney, but it's
But
still
it's a government-funded company. By the way, numbers for this season
Yeah.
have been the lowest ever. In fact, the last episode of
Yeah.
season 4 is apparently the least watched episode of Sherlock so far.
This is so upsetting.
You're trying to shift the blame to the studio, Jishnu. I blame Moffat and Moftis, as they're called.
Well,
If I was the BBC, I'd be going like, I trusted you.
I'm sure we'll get back to it at some point
That's
once
my
I'm done
BBC
seeing
voice.
it. But anywho, okay, so let's wrap this nonsense up. So Dinkar has is it a spoiler-free review? that
It's a
you've written?
spoiler-free
Okay.
review.
Dinkar
It
has
goes into
another
about as much
spoiler-free
detail
review.
as this.
We have another review of this up on the website at geekfruit.in. You can contact us over there if you'd like as well at the little contact button. Or if you want to do it manually, you can email us at contactgeekfruit@gmail.com. Or what are the other things? Social media, GeekFruitHQ @.
Yes.
Do people say @. anymore?
I think it's just at now.
Why was it ever @?
It was
what's the
shorthand
rate?
used in, by the way, accounting. Accountants would know. Maybe this is discussed in the movie The Accountant, but
We really need to
basically
see
it's
this
like
movie.
you bought 600 units at the rate of 4 per unit. Why are we talking about this?
Cool. So, write to us so we can talk about relevant things instead.
In fact, okay,
Yeah.
so we were supposed to discuss various versions of Sherlock, but we've run out of time, so we
Yeah.
can't. So why don't you guys write into us and tell us about what you think of Sherlock, and what are your other favorite versions of Sherlock? Is
Yeah.
it the books classic? Is it Elementary, which is a good show?
Is it? I've heard a lot of good things. Again,
Very good.
I'm not going to watch it because I'm struggling to watch this one. So,
Sure, but
what about what was
you
the,
can kind of jump into Elementary though. There's like a longer running arc, but also you can jump in
Right.
at different points. It's not
Is
as...
that a 22 episode thing?
Yes.
Oh, damn.
And it's on season 4.
Not going to happen.
Season
what about
3.
what was the other one called? The Ian McKellen one, where he's like a
Mr. Holmes.
that's the one. How did
Where
that? do?
he's the old... I
did I,
actually
right?
haven't seen that, but
Yeah.
it looked like Sherlock Holmes when he's old.
I think they just have seen it, and he said. I think he said.
There's that. There's
Positive
the...
things.
yeah, I've heard good stuff
Yeah.
about it. There's the RDJ movies.
Of course,
RDJ and
Which are-
Jude Law.
a whole other beast.
Yeah. I think that's about... those are the current versions of Sherlock that exist.
These are your options, people. If you know of any
And
other
there have been
versions,
tons.
please let us know. I remember there was a cartoon as well.
You
which
know
was
why?
mildly-
I mean, like, there's
mildly
always
amusing.
going to be...
There's
yes.
always more.
There's always going to be more. He's a public
Yeah.
domain character. That's why
So-
there's so many things.
Write into us, contact geekfruit@gmail.com, geekfruit.in, and at geekfruithq on all the social media stuffs. And let us know what you think about that and other stuff.
You can listen to episodes of the Geek Fruit podcast every week on Audio Boom, YouTube. Listen, you have the internet. You have the internet on your phone now. Podcast Addict, Stitcher, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you don't, you should start. You can find us.
Bye.
The Geek Fruit podcast is an IVM production, and if you enjoy listening to us, I suspect you will like listening to the Fan Garage, or TFG as we like to call them around here. It's a podcast about sports and it comes out every day. They talk about football, cricket and fantasy leagues, which is what it's called when you're not good enough to play the sport yourself. But hey, you can listen to a podcast about it.
Hey man, just help me out, man. I need some podcast, man. I haven't had a fix in a week. Just need some.
Don't you worry about it. I got podcast galore for you, man. Just go to ivmpodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Thanks, man. I'm gonna check it out.